Schedule D, gains and losses. There were a lot of losses on Schedule D, and I just didn't think. And it's anecdotal. I'm just looking at the tax returns of the people I worked on, and I also realized that the broker over at ABC brokerage firm is driving around in a boat, and thought they were making a lot more money with a lot less expertise. And I thought if you could combine accounting with investing, that could be a really good thing. Now, back in the early 90s, CPAs were not allowed to accept commissions. So, my partner and I at the time helped change New Jersey law to allow CPAs to accept commissions. I write about that in my book, Too Smart to Be an Umpire. I read about a Texas CPA named Herb Vest who was trying to make this happen. And he ended up starting a firm that I became affiliated with for many years. He was like the pioneer in CPAs getting involved in the wealth management side. And there's really been no competition in this field. The accounting profession is basically a paranoid profession in that you're taking historical data, turning it into a financial statement, and being petrified about being sued for it. And now you're asking those same people to predict the future, and they just can't get over that hurdle. And I got over the hurdle 30 years ago, and I found it to be almost a competition-free business, being able to take tax and accounting knowledge and bring the investment world into that, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of my frustrations with CPAs is I'm the one going to them with tax ideas, with tax deduction ideas. I had to go to my CPA with the Augusta rule. And I'm like, hey, have you heard the Augusta rule? And he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, why am I telling you?
Right.
And and then more
Well,
recent,
that's just it, getting out in front of people. And, I remember the comedian George Carlin,
yeah.
and George Carlin said, it's my job to think of goofy shit. And I said that to my clients. It's my job, not goofy shit, but to think of out of the box ideas to help people achieve their goals, and then use the tax law where appropriate to your advantage to help people. And again, I've said it many times, taxes come in second place to making good decisions. But if you could do things with the tax law legitimately, legally, morally, ethically, that help people, you want to be the one coming up with the ideas, not the client. That's for sure.
Well, and the thing that hits me is, if you're buying an equity or if you're buying a basket of equities, and you're getting 10, 12% return, you're pretty happy. But it's uncertain. If you go in and you do the same thing in tax, you can get some pretty amazing returns. That's a lot more certain.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you can combine both of them. You make a lot of people very happy. I found though what I was able to bring to the world, and it ended up working, was instead of focusing on promising people 8 to 10% a year, because I think that's foolhardy, because that rarely happens, by the way. If you go back and look at S&P 500 performance, the market rarely performs in any one year at high single digits, even though that's what everybody prognosticates at the beginning of the year. I focused on worst case scenarios for people. So if somebody was my client, I would project out the next 15 or 20 years, and I would put in there what would have happened if the Depression happened again. What would happen if 1999 to 2008 occurs? We would look at worst case scenarios to see if the strategies we were putting in would help sustain people into their retirement. Because I found that most people just want to know if they're going to make it. The media puts out, you have to beat the S&P 500, and it gets people to do decisions that are not in their best interest, in my view. My sports background, when I'm dealing with clients, is we just want to win, okay? And I would have to coach people on that. Are you trying to beat the S&P 500, or do you want to make sure you don't run out of money when you're 85 years of age? Like, what are we trying to frickin' accomplish here? And by focusing on worst case scenarios, when 1999 to 2002 occurred, when 2008 occurred, the strategies I put in for our clients helped sustain them. We didn't lose anybody during those periods, and we were picking up people left and right. So I write a whole chapter about that in my book. The chapter's called "It's the Income, Stupid," and you have to be able to protect people when things are bad.